What you're looking at, somewhere between Greenland and Australia, in the 1800s, is the war-torn civic center of a faction of average people. To the east, an encroaching enemy, and to the west, another encroaching enemy. The forefathers of this average settlement hated narrow-mindedness. They despised it so much that they called their new nation wide, as in wide-minded. All the members were average, but wide-minded in their thinking. Because they only cared about width, the nation from west to east was very important, and wide, perhaps 100 miles. From north to south, an unimportant measurement, it was only a mile or so. Since that entire region of nations listened, and took whatever Friar Stephen Wright said seriously, they heard, "I'm not afraid of heights, I'm afraid of widths." With this fear of widths mindset, wide became dangerous overnight. Then, enemies to the east and west both started invasions. They mowed down their cabins, swap meets, and lemonade stands, in a march toward the civic center. The wide leaders immediately converted the oldest and original government building into the new military headquarters, in an effort to survive. When all seemed lost, these average people raised their hands toward the sky in anguish. Shortly thereafter, the world's smallest volcano arose, right in the middle of the civic center. At only 3 or 4 feet high, it belched out enough gas and ash to drive away the invaders. So the war castles were abandoned, but now the civic center was uninhabitable. The next day, a flying saucer, on crop circle duty, landed in a field just outside the civic center wall. When the alien Gray came out of the craft, wearing his tennis racket snowshoes, and preparing to trample some wheat, he was overcome with volcanic fumes. Unable to trample, he mumbled to himself, "Tokyo rush hour." The local farmer noticed the craft, and with quick thinking, told the Gray about the mini-volcano problem. With the local citizens in dismay, plus his inability to meet his crop circle quota, he decided to form a pact with Wide, and do what he could to solve the issues. The first thing he and his comrades did was to construct a brick building near the newly abandoned White Castle. They then put a teleporter inside to receive various items from his home world. It's a common misconception that the first teleporter was developed for the original Star Trek TV series. This Orion teleporter was in fact the first one on Earth, and back in the 1800s. Next they constructed the above-ground human movers, to safely transport, without any problems related to volcanic gas or magma. The first thing teleported was a large amount of building bricks, with tremendous heat resistance. Using this element, from somewhere in the Orion constellation, the Greys built an 8-sided containment building over the mini-volcano. After this, it was obvious that a flying saucer public transportation system was needed. The large mother saucer, which moves from castle top to castle top, is a retired taxi from the Greys' homeworld. The mini saucers are the kids, and the chopped up for furniture parts in the Civic Center headquarters is what's left of the father. Even in Orion, they have the Black Widow spider phenomenon. With the mini-volcano, the invaders, and transportation problems under control, the Greys decided to help Wide become self-sufficient. They began teleporting their own weapons of war from the Orion constellation. Interestingly enough, they happen to be the exact survival tools you will find in Quake 1. Various war items are found throughout the Civic Center, and the Greys built the primary motherlode storage depot above the mini-volcano containment facility. The best Orion item is the invincibility rune, which is grown, instead of manufactured. Since culturing requires tremendous heat, the Greys cultivated a rune garden under the civic center. They also had to build yet another transportation system, the magma trams, for invincibility rune garden maintenance. This system functions on its own by automatically teleporting fully mature runes to their appropriate locations and spitting out any other foreign objects to the roof of the motherlode storage depot. The final help and joint effort between the Greys and the citizens was to completely remodel the inside of the historic government building, now military headquarters. It was decided to leave the outside virtually unchanged, but modernize the inside. Later, with the Greys gone and wide, the new military might that it had become, the citizens developed a Spartan mentality. Since they respected their nation neighbors, but just had to kick some ass, they turned on each other. So this is where we are right now, total anarchy and chaos, as a mini-revolution plays on.
My Quake handle is Bullet, and I named my Quake 1 map, the Bermuda Octagon. You start out in that dangerous part of the ocean, in the middle of a submarine battle, during World War II. Once you are dog paddling through the water, there are 8 hidden dimensions, which teleport you to the Kingdom of Wide. Since these dimensions are hidden, all you can do is move around, until you find one. Most weapons, and ammo, are abundant in the map, and easy to find. Some rocket shots are so long, that you have to get used to anticipating where a human or bot will end up, rather than where they are at launch time. On top of the mother saucer, and shooting down, is the best rocket launching location. The chance of getting fragged there is close to 0. Over the years, I have only met 2 types of Quake players. Type 1 will do anything for a frag, and Type 2 will do almost anything for a frag. So because of tricks like rocket jumping, and camping in areas that were never intended, I have used mapping tricks to help, and convince you guys to play civilized. The Bermuda map has many cases, where I had to put myself in the potential victim's shoes, and make an adjustment, for the sake of all. As an example, the only rocket jump restriction is from the roof of the motherlode storage depot, to the roof of either of the 2 large buildings. Also, as you see in this video, the mother saucer cannot be dominated, where a player rides it back and forth indefinitely. So, when analyzing the layout, remember the old Romanian cliché, there is a method to the madness. When boarding the mother saucer, you need to know its exact location. If you teleport and miss it, you will end up in the middle of the castle, but not really stuck. There are 2 ways to get to the mini saucer loading area. You can use a human mover, or go through the roof of the castle's human mover tube. The advantage of starting from the outside entrance, rather than going through the tube roof, is that spikes will clear out any enemy waiting to ambush you in the blue mini saucer loading area. There are just 3 secrets in the map. As you have already seen, in the back of each magma tram station is a teleporter that puts you on top of the local human mover tower. From there, you can jump over the castle wall, if you wish. There is also a hiding area on the outside of the headquarters building, inside the wall. You are hidden there, but I wouldn't call you safe. Using the magma tram is very basic. You just enter a compartment, and the protective doors shut automatically. You must get off the tram at the magma vortex, aka Rune Garden. Due to germs, viruses, and wayward riders, the tram always dunks in magma, and redocks, squeaky clean. The map contains a total of 8 bunkers. The 2 brick-colored are basic, no details needed. 2 are super bunkers, and this is the only place you will find the lightning gun, aka Thunderbolt. In each of these 2 locations, I decided to put a red indicator on the wall, above each super bunker, that lights up whenever it is occupied. Since I felt that players may want to know if a super bunker is unoccupied, before boarding the mother saucer, I also put many blue indicators that illuminate when each super bunker is empty and available for use. There is a right and left super bunker, depending on your point of reference. As you are looking at the blue indicators, a left indicator signifies the bunker to your left hand is available, and vice versa. When a super bunker is available, the only way in is by boarding the mother saucer and using a sky teleporter. From the mother saucer, if you see a sky teleporter open, this means the super bunker is available. When occupied, the sky teleporter doors close, and you see only sky. Once inside a super bunker, you have a total of 90 seconds to accumulate frags. After 90 seconds, the wall to your right starts to move, and pushes you into the teleporter on your left. If you wish to leave early, this teleporter is the way out. There are 4 Bermuda bunkers, 2 in each castle. One way in is by using the lower walkway between the castle and the slime moat. The other way is to teleport from a mini saucer to the room adjacent to the bunker. When riding a mini saucer, if a Bermuda bunker is available, the teleporter door will be open. A closed door means it is not available. There are cases where you will end up in the adjacent room next to the bunker, and there will already be another player inside. To force them to teleport out, you can chuck grenades at the off-color section above the bunker. The grenades will fall inside, forcing an escape or death. The Bermuda bunkers also have a 90-second time limit. After using the one-way entrance door, you will see 2 teleporters inside the bunker. The ceiling teleporter is the escape. After 90 seconds, the floor will rise up and push you into this teleporter. To leave early, just move forward a bit and jump. The teleporter at the rear is a positioning one. If you move into it, you will teleport into a perfect firing position. Then you will be able to shoot rockets, spikes or buckshot through the small hole in front of you. You need to use the keyboard only for firing. Trying to use the mouse button, in this case, will change your position slightly, enough to make future shots no good. You can unload an entire clip of 100 rockets in less than 90 seconds, using just the keyboard. Here is where these rockets go. Out the bunker, through the castle wall, into the mini volcano containment structure, into the Bermuda Octagon, becoming torpedoes, and fulfilling the effect of a submarine battle during World War II. Out the other side of the containment facility, and into the castle at the opposite end of the map. All solid ammo in Quake 1 has a travel time of about 5 seconds, before fizzling out and disappearing harmlessly. An obvious question is, will 2 players, exactly opposite, one in the white and one in the black castle, firing projectiles, have any encounters? Although the rockets are on the exact same paths, but going in opposite directions, they will not collide. Instead, they pass through each other, and will fizzle out, before hitting the opposing player. The exception to this rule is if one player in a bunker moves perfectly straight ahead, next to the firing hole in the wall, and launches. Then the rocket will travel further, so that if the other player is too far forward, they may get fragged. So the best advice is to remain back, unless you like to live dangerously, which, naturally, we don't. By now you may have realized that I fibbed about what is inside the mini volcano containment facility. I admit it, that it's really the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, you got me on this, but everything else is true. Since there is a barrier at each castle, to prevent one player dominating the mother saucer, I have prepared a video, just to show how easy it is, if you do want to keep the ride going. I intentionally look like a moron, to show that you can recover if you goof, or have a misstep. To answer the question of why I built this map in the first place, I can sum it up by saying, bots. For more than 20 years, I have enjoyed duking it out with bots. In the original Quake 1 maps, there are perhaps a dozen original maps that are very bot compatible. When I started experimenting with this map and bots, using Quake Spasm, I found only one, the Omicrons, that would work. The others don't even come close. So this map is built with the Omicrons in mind. A great deal of time has been invested, just to make sure they work as well as can be expected. I knew there was no way they could ever figure out to shoot the floor, and board a mini saucer. They do occasionally get all the way to the motherload storage depot, but don't hold your breath on this. The Omicrons have an amazing secret, that I found out the hard way. They have incredible hearing. The one-way viewports in the super bunkers and human movers stop normal players from detecting you. These bots will know you are there. With the understanding that the Omicrons use a waypoint system to remember, I have put some items and arranged the hidden octagon teleporting dimensions to favor them using the magma trams. This finished map is the result of many hours of trial and error, bot testing. When you try them out, there is one very important detail. You normally produce the bots one at a time. The default way is the B key. When you bring in the bots, please don't hammer the B key quickly. Wait 2 to 3 seconds in between each bot entry. 2 is a minimum, and 3 is best. What will happen if you don't, is they will either bunch up at one end of the map, or get stuck too long in the octagon. This simple 2 to 3 second rule works every time. One thing they do that I haven't figured out is when they are at the ruin garden and ready to jump only one time in 10 while they grab a rune. They usually teleport out to the roof of the motherload storage depot naked. When I first decided that I wanted the magma trams, I also knew that they had to have doors that close. So, when they leave the loading area, doors close as long as either a human or bot is on one of the trams. Just having one rider on either tram will cause the doors to close on both loading areas. Because of how limited the programming commands are in the original Quake 1, this simple idea took many hours to perfect. So, if you don't care about the doors closing when the trams are in motion, it will be no big deal. If you do want them to operate as intended, you will either need a lot of human players, or at least a half-dozen bots. When riding the mini saucers, you will jostle around a little bit. You do not automatically stay centered. So you have to be aware of where you are on the mini saucer at all times. If you get too far off center, you may self-destruct. The walls are not your friends here. Getting against a wall, when the saucer moves, is also instant death. You will have to get used to small adjustments when the mini saucers are in motion. Bending over to look at where your feet are, is also risky. When not standing straight up, part of your body will protrude, which may interact with a solid surface, and knock you off the saucer, or worse. So time this action appropriately. They can take you to various areas, and you can shoot from them, both above and below ground. The paths of the magma trams and many saucers occasionally cross. In this scenario, the tram always wins. Quake Spasm works perfectly with this map. The other good possibility, that I haven't tried yet, is FTE. Both of these Quake engines are a free download. Quake Spasm supports the Omicron bots, but as of early 2020, was no good as an internet server. FTE is a good server, but doesn't support the Omicrons. So my wish would be that either Quake Spasm, or FTE, was modified. Then you could have internet play, and also bring in some bots. Fortunately, Quake Spasm works well as a client, in my experiments. So, although you cannot use it as a server, you can use it to connect to a server that is already running. I experimented with DirectQ 1.9. After about 5 minutes of running one human, and 15 bots, you start to have weird anomalies. Thinking there could be a video conflict, I switched my ATI Radeon card to NVIDIA. This made no difference. I also got the same problem, whether it was an Intel or AMD system. I believe that the problem with DirectQ is very basic. The map is just too large, and there are too many items. Because I ran into this problem, I created a stripped-down version of the original map. Since the light version, which is what I am releasing, functions nearly the same as the original, nothing is really lost. This will give those who wish to use this map in a server environment the best chance of success. I have not experimented with this, but from what I read about Quake engines, it looks like FTE is the only real choice for a large custom map in a server environment. The Omicron bots are also a free download. There is a problem with one of the WAV files when running Quake Spasm. You will get annoying error messages for the file DLand2. I have modified the DLand2 file so that it no longer gives the error messages when using Quake Spasm. In this fix, no new files have been added, and none were removed. So the folders and files look basically the same. Since I am including the fixed version of the Omicron bots in my download, along with the map, you won't have to do your own modification. You need to remember that the Omicrons have their own configuration file. So if you already have them installed, it would be best if you just copy the new DLand2 WAV file and overwrite your current one. This means that you have to unzip the downloaded Omicrons to a different location than your current install. Otherwise you will overwrite your current Omicron configuration file, and perhaps others that you don't want to. DLand2 is found in the Omicron folder, Sound folder, then Daemon folder. Giving credit where credit is due, would start with ID Software and the amazing visionaries that made up the original crew. If there is any single attribute that has contributed to Quake 1 longevity, this would be the ability to modify the original game, which would include add-ons. What I read is that after their great success with Wolfenstein, then Doom 1 and 2, the ID powers that be were impressed with the creativity and custom maps that were built. Because of the end-user new map creations in these 3 successful game releases, they went even further when making Quake 1. Back then, I don't know if these guys would have believed that Quake 1 would still be popular 20 years after the initial release. Because Quake 1 can be modified to an amazing extent, we have a number of different bot add-ons, the Cascam camera program, which I used a whole lot in the making of this video, a number of more powerful Quake game engines, many Quake-specific map editors, compilers, etc. I am not aware of any after-the-fact work related to Quake 1, where the programmer asked for money. Most, if not all, are creative people, and this is one type of creativity outlet. Would I pay for the tools I have used in making the Bermuda Octagon? Gladly. I offered to send money to Christian Dusk, the creator of the Trench Broom map editor. In my opinion, and I have never seen a more powerful and well thought out shareware program out there. He politely refused my money, but Trench Broom would be well worth the price tag. So number 2 on my list of credits due is a tie between the Trench Broom map editor and the Omicron bot add-on, which includes the built-in Cascam camera program. Number 3 would be the many aftermarket game engines, which gave me the ability to produce a map far larger than the original Quake engine could even think of handling. Without these works of genius, my map would be 1/4 the size that it is. And finally, the many behind-the-scenes Quake-related efforts, too numerous to mention. To this last category of amazing people, remaining unsung heroes, I am grateful. In keeping synchronized with ID Software's original Quake spirit, I will release the Bermuda Octagon source map in the foreseeable future. I don't think it can be improved, but that could also be what the ID team thought a long time ago about their own works. When duking it out with many humans or bots, if you are outside the buildings in the Civic Center area, it's safe to assume that a rocket could be headed toward you at any given time. Since there are too many different directions and angles to keep track of, the easiest way to stay alive is to keep moving. If you want to admire your great shots, don't stop and do this while the action is going on. Use the record command, along with the play demo command, built into the Quake engine. The other option is to use a screen recorder, which I think is a better choice. This way you have a permanent record of your accomplishments. If you have thoughts about playing online, or setting up a server, I would encourage you to use a desktop system only. In setting up a server, anything less than a desktop could end up as wonderful as kissing your sister. I will assume that an internet game-savvy person has a basic understanding of Windows and computer maintenance. I will give you 3 programs that directly apply to success in your quest. This is not a complete list, but these are what I used on my machine. They are Tweaking, at tweaking.com, Simple Port Forwarding, and the DirectX Redistributable Pack. These are all free downloads. The last category for the Bermuda Octagon is the known anomalies, or bugs, if you prefer. Most likely, there will be additions to this list, but hopefully not many. Bots, in general, sometimes get hung up in areas. In Ziggurat Vertigo, there is a place where an Omicron will get suspended in mid-air, about 8 feet off the ground, and stay there indefinitely. You feel compelled to frag him, and help him rejoin his comrades. There is nothing that dramatic in my map. The only strange thing that happened when I first put the Omicrons in, was when they rode the magma trams. The tram would drop down from the loading area with the bot aboard, and the Omicron would not go forward, even though the tram did start to move. Basic physics took over, and the bot would turn to blood. I experimented with some fixes, and came up with one that greatly improved this anomaly. Before the fix, the Omicron death rate was maybe 1/3 to 2/5 of those that rode the tram. Now, the death rate is well under 10%. Another anomaly, that is a result of my interest in creating the Rune Garden, and Quake programming limitations, has to do with making the jump into the magma vortex, aka Rune Garden. Once in a while, perhaps 2% of the time, you will end up getting suspended in air above the vortex. You simply move forward a bit, and you will teleport, as intended. The following anomaly is probably the least problematic. I would call it the magma tram synchronization problem. I am bringing it up because this is my only head-scratcher, as far as why does it happen. The trams start out running the same path, and are equal distances apart. For some reason, the distances between them change over time. After a game has started, it takes hours before it shows up, and only if you watch carefully. People playing the game would probably not notice this. I've run the map with 15 bots playing, all night. The next day, the trams are not synchronized, but are still close enough to the original starting distances for good gaming. This problem was much worse in the beginning. I discovered that bots would sometimes be in the 6-6-6, aka invincibility mode, and get wedged in between the roof of a magma tram and the underside of the roof of the tram loading station as the tram was rising up. This stopped the tram until the bot became normal again and got squished. In those days, the trams got very far out of sync. I fixed the problem by making the tram station roof a fake surface. So you will occasionally see a player or bot move through this fake roof and say, WTF. Don't forget, method to the madness. I also considered that the occasional bot resistance and death I already mentioned could be slowing a tram down slightly, but I am just not sure what is going on with this. The last anomaly occurs due to my interest in realism. Since there is a lot of open sky in the map, I wanted it to act like open sky. When you fire a rocket toward the sky, it's supposed to go on indefinitely. If I programmed the quick and simple sky, the rocket would explode, and not continue into space. The Octagon sky does act like real sky. The different sky programming did bring up an unintended anomaly. There is a possibility that you could be blown off the map through the sky area. I have done close to 100 hours of bot testing. Only one bot, one time, was blown completely off the map. If it did happen to a human player, they could rejoin the fight in the normal respawning way, as long as they are dead. If they are still alive and off the map, they would probably have to disconnect, and then reconnect, or restart the game. When screen recording for this video, I captured a very rare event, by accident. Sadly, one of the nastiest Omicrons that has ever entered the Octagon nailed me with a rocket, and I literally went through the roof. If you watch on the left side, you will see Elvis Presley teach me a lesson I will never forget. I could have rejoined the fight immediately, but decided to bask in the ambience for a while. I know what you're thinking right now. How could somebody ever recover from such an embarrassment? Should Elvis Presley be put in timeout, or what? If it's any consolation, you can see in the upper left corner play-by-play area that I also nailed him with a rocket just before my own trip to Purgatory. Getting blown off the map is supposed to be a very rare accident. There is little doubt that some will try rocket jumping on a building next to the sky in an attempt to recreate this anomaly. some people's kids. I believe I have covered enough to get you started. There is a download link below for the Bermuda Octagon BSP file. I don't know if anybody is interested in this, but I also have a link for an ISO image of this video. If you would like to burn it to a DVD and watch a widescreen presentation on your flat-screen TV using a player, it is available for download as well. Enjoy the chaos.